So I'm happy to be here. My name is Pong. I'm from OmiseGO. Some of you might know a little bit about the project already. So what I'm going to do today is really talking to you about the project itself. So what exactly is the OmiseGO Network? But also at the same time, what I usually like to do in talks is also giving information or a little bit about insights to the technology that would extend beyond just the project. So hopefully what I can do today is give you guys a little bit of the concept of production readiness. What does production readiness means, and how you can use the exact same concept of defining if something's production ready with different sorts of blockchain, with different sorts of technology. So yeah. So before we move on a little bit further, I would like to get to know the audience a little bit. So could you put your hands up if you work in a blockchain project? Okay, great. Can you put your hand up if you are a technical, so you understand blockchain from a technical level? Okay, cool. So what we're going to go through with you today is quite non-technical. There are some technical concepts in the slides, but it should be from the product perspective. So I think everything in here should be digestible by everybody. So start off with OmiseGO. What exactly is it? There's a lot of people that knows the project from different places, from different products that we do. Some of the enterprise partners may know us for the e-wallet suite that we produce. Most of the public will know us for the OMG tokens or the ICO in 2017, or some people might know us for Plasma that we're building for Ethereum ecosystem, for example. So for us to get a really good understanding of the project, what I like to do is to go from the very first principle and to go to the very end goal of the project and the end goal that we're trying to achieve. So consider this sort of problems. So I'm from Thailand, right? What I do is, at least we're savvy enough to have mobile banking these days, which is great for us. But I realized that having to come to Japan, I wouldn't have any means to transact values, right? As a person, might have stock, bonds, any type of financial assets that you own. Yet at the same time, going from one country to another, you are gated out, unable to transact different values. They are bounded. And such is the problem of modern financial systems. Most of these systems are segregated. They are walled gardens, siloed out and unable to be interoperable with one another. And this is the core of the problems that we're trying to solve. And the solution is what OmiseGO is building. We are trying to get to the point where we can have a global settlement systems where any type of assets, any type of transactions can be conducted. Whether you are an institutional player to the average trader, to the average person, you want to build a shared platform, shared infrastructure that will service all types of individuals and all types of financial transactions, tokens or otherwise. So when we get started with the project, I'll give a little bit of background. We actually got started, Omise is a payment gateway, so quite similar to conceptually to Stripe or PayPal. And then we quickly realized, I think in late 2014, that these transactions that we have to conduct for our customers have to be done on existing providers like the Visa network. Right? You only have a very few selected individuals, and what you do when you have a intermediary is that you get charged a middleman fee essentially, and these fees can go up higher because there's only so many few providers that do this kind of service. So we're trying to go from first principle and define whether or not we can make these transactions on a different rail, on a transaction where there is no central party that is extorted the transactions that we make with them. So in late 2015, we came up with, we encountered Ethereum, and we realized very quickly that these transactions do not scale. So we work with different people within the Ethereum space. Some of you might be familiar with Joseph Kuhn, Vitalik, and really that's the inception of the plasma design, which is a way to scale Ethereum. So we worked with a few individuals in this space to create the first OmiseGO white paper and the plasma for the first initial plasma design called minimum viable plasma. And fast forward a little bit, we are at the point where we have the first version of plasma that we are been testing, been using, and that's before we test that. We can talk a little bit after about that as well. So about the network itself, so thus far we are able to handle over 4,000 transactions per second. We have a project now sitting on a Ring B testnet. Also, for some people that might not be familiar with Plasma, I'll give a short description of that. So most of the public ledger, as you may know, if they are sufficiently decentralized in terms of the number of nodes, you realize that they tend to have a really low throughput. And that's the whole point of layer 2 solutions, is to provide a scalability solutions for these layer 1 ledgers, and at the same time able to retain some of the useful properties shared by these layer 1. So properties like decentralization and security of funds is shared on this layer 2, as opposed to other sort of constructions such as a sidechain, where these security properties are not shared, and you actually have to be reliant on the authority, an external provider, to run the sidechain, to run a proof authority chain for you. So unlike the sidechains, the security is shared with Ethereum. So some of the properties I might have already mentioned, we are at 4,000 transactions per second. In terms of fee as well, we are about 1/10 of the Ethereum gas cost that push us on average of 4 cents per transaction. And the whole idea is scaling without compromise. How do you gain the business benefits of having a high throughput transactions rail, while at the same time retain the concepts of decentralization or retain the concepts of safety and security of funds that we enjoy having on a layer 1 solutions. So some of the really high level functionality on this plasma chain, we're able to deposit any ERC20 compliant interface tokens on the plasma chain from Ethereum. You are then able, I think it's missing 3 bullet points. Never mind, I remember them. Second one is you're able to transact on this plasma chain. You are then also able to exit. So after making these transactions on the OmiseGO network, you are able to take your funds from the plasma chain to Ethereum. And also in the next versions of our network, we'll enable a way for the user to be able to add a new transaction. So OmiseGO can deploy a new transaction types, allowing for the plasma chain to be upgradable and enjoy more transactions that is beyond P2P payment. So an example might be an exchange functionality on this OmiseGO plasma chain. So right now we're at version 0.2. With the version 0.3, we'll enable an upgradability on the smart contract itself. We have done so far since the very first deployment in April of 0.1, we have done about 2.6 million transactions on the Ring B testnet. We have a developer program, internal developer program for people to apply to, and we have about 400 developers at this point, and also an ecosystem of projects, some of which you actually see if you're going to be present at Devcon today. I think one of them is also here. Jeff from Curve is here. And yeah, so if you would like to talk to us more about what it means to be a project within the OmiseGO ecosystem, we can talk a little bit after the talk as well. So getting to the meat of the subject, what does it mean for a project? What does it mean for a financial service provider or infrastructure provider to be at a point where it's called production ready? And this, of course, depends on the project itself. Production readiness can mean different things for different sorts of application and different sorts of software. If I'm building a social media app for Shiba Inus, then I can get production ready within a weekend. On the other hand, not sure if that joke is funny in Japanese. I'll try. But on the other hand, if you're building a certain different types of software, or what I like to call high assurance software, then any type of mistakes or any failure that happens on the software can lead to a catastrophic issues. Or let's say, for example, in medical technologies or in biotech or any transportation, the software that runs on these domains must have high assurance. So you need to have really high guarantees that things will work as expected. And I always see that the significant amount of time and effort that's spent on this software are usually longer. The life cycle is for the software are usually longer, but that's because of those reasons I've already stated. So just to unpack this part a little bit, to be production ready is very different from launching. Putting a software out there to the world is great, and it's great to solicit feedback from the consumers that use your software. But at the same time, it might be a little bit more complex than that to say that certain software is production ready. So what we mean at OmiseGO, what it means to us is these certain properties. One is safety. As I've mentioned, does it work as intended? Is the software that I have released safe for the user? So in this context of a financial provider, the funds that you have deposited on OmiseGO Network, is there a guarantee that these funds are safe and no one can steal your funds and take them out of the POS machine? So deep technology is really hard, and what I mean by deep tech is, well, there's two types of technologies, right? Well, you have one type of risk is called the market risk. So the risk that a certain type of technology would go out to market and no one will want it. And the second type of risk is the technology risk. Would this piece of technology, is it difficult to implement? Would this technology, is it even possible, remotely possible to build this technology? So the extreme example of that might be a rocket that lands standing when it comes back to Earth, right? So as we're not exactly a rocket science company, but at the same time, any financial infrastructure provider or any blockchain technologies can be, especially layer 2, can be considered somewhat of a deep tech. That means you have a longer life cycle. And in this process, what you do is you don't ship right away. You go from research phase, so this might be design specs, paper, yellow paper, etc. You go to a proof of concept of this research, so you have a minimum viable version in software that codifies some of these properties that you've mentioned. And at the very late stage, which is where we are, is the full implementation, the full production software that you want to release to the world. So another thing is security audits. When you have a financial software, and especially smart contract systems, you need to be sure that things, that the tests that you have run work. And although it might be important for you to have internal tests and tests done internally, we at OmiseGO, we also have an in-house security teams. It's definitely important to have someone audit your work. So this can be an external parties that checks your work, making sure on a most objective level possible that software is safe and is fully secured. So one example of this is with us, we partnered with Quantstamp. So Quantstamp is a project that helps audit our smart contracts. So these are very important. Another point for us at OmiseGO is stability. Will a certain software continue to be stable? From the perspective of an application providers that are consuming our software, so as an end user, you probably don't talk to TCP/IP directly, right? You probably have a browser or an application that communicates to these low-level protocols for you. And for OmiseGO network infrastructure, we're on a similar boat. So what are the applications, decentralized applications, the wallets that connect to our network? Are there strong guarantees for these projects that the network that we provide to them is able to behave as intended? Otherwise, any kind of issues that goes wrong with it will also take that downstream consumers down with them, right? So one core strength is service availability. I think it's missing things on the bottom again. I haven't been looking at slides. I think it seems to be things missing from these slides from time to time, but I'll make sure to cover everything that I have in this presentation. With the service availability, is the service that I have, will it have any unexpected downtimes? If so, how much downtime is expected to have? An example from a Web 2 world is a cloud provider. You might be using AWS, you might be using GCP, and they will have a very specific clause that, if you can expect this certain level of guarantee, 99.999% of the time the software will be running, which is less than a certain hours or certain minutes or days in a year, for example. So these properties are very, very important for consumers whose business, whose revenue is generated on top of an infrastructure provider. So that's very important to us. Another test that you can do to ensure is doing some load testing, sending transactions, making sure things work. I'll race through a little bit faster. Another factor is predictability. Is this software, next version release of the software will be compatible or breaking changes to the old version of software. So usually versioning is important in software that gets high usage. And last part is having a solid ecosystem. We don't build any technology or software in a vacuum, and the benefit of being a modern technology is that there's so many different third-party applications and tools and usage that is combined together to help make you a solution. So I use Twilio and different services to compose up a end-to-end consumer application. So things for us that we provide to these consumer apps is client SDKs, great documentation, providing them with a solid guides that get them to making useful applications fast. Third-party application might be existing solutions. We want to make sure that there's compatibility, at least with the ecosystem at large. So it's a quick recap slide. So what is OmiseGO? OmiseGO is trying to be a global trusted settlement rail that is value agnostic, that supports all types of digital assets. And for us, production readiness is very important. It goes way beyond just having things launched and out the door, and these other all things that we do care about. So yeah, if you're building something, any applications, wallet providers, come to meet us at Devcon through this link set below, and I'll be happy to answer any of your questions after the talk. And thank you.
Thank you very much. Do you want to do Q&A?
Oh, sure, yeah. Does anybody have questions? I think we still have a few minutes. No questions?
Or maybe, there's actually.
Go ahead. Like, somebody give him mics or.
Thank you very much for a very interesting presentation. My question is simply, looking forward, let's say for the next 5-10 years, what are the key challenges that you see in terms of bringing your platform to market and achieving the goals that you have in mind?
Sure. I think the key hurdles for projects such as OmiseGO is probably not too different from any other blockchain solution providers. One of the biggest one is the barriers to adoptions, as a UX, for example, and they have any type of UX that enable users to have a strong sense of custodianship, which is, if you have your priority, that's your funds. Any type of projects that enables users to achieve that and at the same time have a high degree of usability is very important, and it's still, to be fair, very difficult. It's much easier, right, to just keep your funds on an exchange. So I think pushing forward to having that level, that degree of respect for the idea of decentralization of blockchain itself, while at the same time retaining usability that people expect from Web 2.0 applications is very important, and is a core challenge. Thank you. Is there anyone else?
Okay.
Yeah, it's good. Yeah, thank you.
Thank you very much for starting off with an